Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another interesting combo to try out that I think could be a pretty decent performer if the shells can hold up their end of the bargain anyway. We've got a choke that we haven't tested a whole lot and we haven't brought it out in a good long while, but I've seen some people mention it recently, so I figured we'll bring it out and we'll run these shells through it and just see what it might be capable of, because it may work or it may not. Before the shells I've got today, I brought out some more of the Remington Premier Magnum Turkey loads. These ones are the 12 gauge, 3-inch, 1 3/4 ounce payload of lead 4s at about 1,300 feet per second. We've tested our fair share of Remington turkey loads, both the nitros and these Premier loads. Out of those two, these are usually the better performers, although they can be very finicky, and they're definitely not as good as something like a Winchester Longbeard XR load, but if you put them through the right choke combo, they're a perfectly average performing lead turkey load, and a lot of people are going to be looking at something like this year with the price of TSS. So we'll see how these can do, both being a Remington shell and a lead 4 through today's particular combo. So for today's setup, I brought out my Remington 1187. It's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and we're going to be running a Carlson's Turkey Spur choke. I believe they introduced these sometime last year, right around turkey season. It's a 660 constriction choke. It's completely smooth inside. There's no ribs, there's no steps, there's no bands, straight rifling, nothing like that. It does have a few ports on the side, and looking at the design of this choke, I really think that it is just a renamed Carlson's Bone Collector choke. It's identical looking, same specs and everything, so it's probably just a rebadged Bone Collector, but we've tested it several times and it usually is a pretty solid performing choke. So we'll see what it can do with it being 660 as well with these Remington 4s. So for today's test, we're running it the same as usual. Turkey target is set up at 40 and we got the chrono to get the velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what these Remington Premier 4s might be able to do through that 660 Turkey Spur choke. It could work. It could be too much constriction for these shells and ruin our pattern. We don't know until we try it. So let's take our shot and see what we get. Okay, that shell gave us 1380 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1300. We have a 28-inch barrel with an 1.5 inches or so of choke out of the end. So I did expect to see their 1300 claim, but we're definitely getting up close to the 1400 mark now. So that's getting on up and moving on out for a lead 4 shot for sure. But how did they actually pattern at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Okay, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and we see a little bit of a mixed bag here overall. First up, do we have a dead turkey? Yes, indeed we do. There's one definitely through the brain, with another 1 or 2 right on the edge, and several more down the spine that would have done the job, and you would have had a few body shots mixed in down there as well. So is it 40-yard capable? Yes, it will do the job out to 40 yards because there's not going to be a turkey that makes it through that spread. There's nowhere he can move to and get through that pattern. So it is 40-yard capable, but it's not anything overly impressive either. I think, judging by how this looks, we might have started to step over that constriction boundary where we're going to start blowing the pattern back open. These shells haven't shown us any overly tight, super hot core, Longbeard XR level patterns. But usually if you put them through the right choke, they're decently average and they usually pattern pretty evenly in a little bit larger circle. And we saw the start of that trying to happen, but just not quite. I think our core is probably this little hot spot kind of right on the bird's back of the neck area there. It's a little bit of a hot pocket, but as soon as we get outside of that, you can see we definitely open it up pretty quickly. There are some good noticeable voids in there as well, and the farther we get to the outer edges down there's some stringy stuff. We kind of flung a bunch of stuff up here to the top right with a few more flyers over here on the top left as well. I think that 660 with that lead number 4 is probably a little bit more choke constriction than what it prefers. These Remington loads aren't the best in the first place, like I've already said, but that does look like it is starting to blow our pattern open, to me anyway. It is still capable, and lead 4s are going to do the job for a pretty decent distance as well. If you had the pattern to do it at 55 or 60 yards, they would have enough energy to do it, but this pattern is a 40-yard and in type of spread. Lead 4s can be finicky in the first place, and Remington shells aren't the greatest thing out there, so this could have been worse. I was hoping to see a little bit better, but I'm not entirely surprised either. It's okay. It's not the worst spread we've seen by a long shot, but it's nothing special and nothing amazing either. I would hunt with it out to 40 if it's that's what I had. And if that's what your store shelf has, and if you're on a budget and can't spend the money on a TSS shell, and places are out of stock for Winchester Longbeards and stuff, I guess that would be a capable enough option out to 40 yards for you to run. So a little bit of a mixed bag. Maybe that's what some people might prefer to see or expect to see in a basic lead pattern, but we can definitely do better from these shells and from plenty of other lead loads out there as well. That's why we test a bunch of different things and see what happens, because sometimes something surprises you and other times it just doesn't live up to what you think that it might be able to. And here's the wad out of that shell. Basic Remington equipment here. Nothing fancy to see. Nothing stuck down in there. These Remington wads are very prone to getting all snagged up and kind of looking a little rough. That is a ported choke as well, so that plays into it. But this is nothing out of the ordinary. Looks very much typical, and I think it did about as good as what it could through today's choke combo anyway. I just think 660, with how these shells are loaded, and then being a lead 4, probably is starting to push the constriction a little bit, where we're going to start blowing our pattern out a little. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance right there? It kind of tried to give us a little bit of a core there, it kind of seems, but probably a little bit too much choke for what the shell is. And lead 4s in a Remington shell is just usually not the best ultimate performing load in the first place. So this was an idea. It was a choke that I saw mentioned several times recently. I figured we'd bring it out here and see what it could do, since I have some of these shells that I kind of need to test and get rid of. And that's just kind of what we got. That's just why you test different things and see what happens, because some of them are going to be better than others for sure. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Remington Premier shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a combo you would hunt with? Or are you kind of like me? You prefer a little tighter, maybe a little more even of a spread, ideally anyway, in your turkey hunting setup? And maybe what other choke combos do you want to see us run those shells through? Or what other shells do you want to see me put through that Carlson's Turkey Spur 660? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.